Yes. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Veterans Minimum. My guy, ALLEN, Bay in the building. I see you, Croatia.
Yeah, taste the 2-year anniversary. Oh, man. What a final. Even though they fell short, still, what a day.
Well, a very improbable run by them.
Yeah, still brings a tear in my eye.
Dude, where would you rank that as far as your favorite sports memories?
Number one.
Number one, right?
It has to be.
Now, let me ask you this. Falcons make the Super Bowl. Croatia makes the World Cup. Which one would have gotten you happier?
Croatia. But I would say more devastating was the Falcons.
Yeah, well, with the Falcons, they were winning the whole game. And then we all know.
I'm not sure who was favored going to that matchup with the Patriots, but given the circumstances, and I just had a way bigger feeling. Like, look, I'm the biggest Croatia homer, but I knew it was a taller facing France, given the situation. Like, France, outside the Argentina match, which was crazy, they didn't really concede. Like, they shut out Belgium, Uruguay, Peru. Like, they were so dominant during World Cup. So my expectations were low for that. For Falcons, I was thinking, all right, they could really pull this off because they were just so dominant.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I would say the Falcons lost slightly more devastating, but the Croatia run was just given the. I watched that game. I watched each game with like 50, 100 Croatians. It was just it's a whole different landscape, whole different time to be alive there.
Did you run into David Deal throughout this?
No, I haven't ran into David Deal since Euro 2012. Oh man, it's a very unfortunate story. Which yeah, less of the better.
Dude, I used to. Well, the guys and I, this bar underneath the train on, not Steinway, but like on 31st Street. So I'm pretty sure it was a Croatian bar. I forgot the name of it, but it was a bar where Saturday nights they'd have beer pong tournaments, and the winning team would get a $100 bar tab. And the coolest thing about it was the way it worked is everyone would sign up, right? So say you and I were on a team, and then let's say Mike and Greg are next, or we play Mike and Greg. Well, the first game we have a pitcher, Mike and Greg have a pitcher. And you fill up your beers, and then when we win, well, if we win, say Steve and Joe got next, they would provide the beers for us.
Man.
So if you get hot, dude, I would play with Espo.
Espo's really good.
Espo is really good. He cheats.
All right.
That cocksucker cheats. But when he's on your team, you live with it. Yeah. He's a big leaner.
Maybe I've noticed it. Yeah.
So, dude, I can't tell you. We won it like. There was one summer where we went every Saturday. We would go every single Saturday. This was peak heavy lamb. I was pushing like close to 240.
Oh, damn.
So I was tossing back cold ones. But the coolest thing about it was, you would go there, and we would go with like $30, and then we'd win the bar tab and then just take shots. And like all the guys were there too, so eventually we're just all drinking for free. But, man, beer pong tournaments, that's... when's the last time you played Pong?
Honestly, when we were in PA, maybe.
Oh, shit, that was about a year ago.
I think so. Can't really recall anything else. It's hard now, man. People don't really throw house parties.
Yeah, well, I mean...
well, now, but even like I'm talking about the fall, whatever.
Yeah. Well, also, like, I'm going to be 30 in March, so I don't know how many house parties I could be going to nowadays.
Or even barbecues for that matter.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, COVID really fucked up the whole summer plans, but that's everybody going through it. All right, man, let's talk about this. AFC South.
Fun division.
A division which... This time last year, I was very excited about. Mind you, Andrew Luck was going into the season. He was supposed to be the quarterback. I had ran through all my predictions because, I really start diving into football after Memorial Day weekend. Mm-hmm. That's when everyone has done. The draft is over. Free agency's over. Everyone has shown up to OTAs, mini camps. You have an idea of what's up. Coach speak.
Right.
Player talk.
Roto World headlines.
Yeah, and then everyone's in the best shape they've ever been in. So I start my research there, and dude, I just remember I fucking had to scrap everything about a week before I recorded the preview show with the guys last year because Andrew Luck retires. I remember the
Saturday night.
The recliner that's right behind you. I'm sitting over there, and my phone blows up. Blows up because... I was Andrew Luck truther since like 2010.
Yeah.
So that happens, and it really alters, I think, the course of history in the NFL. Because I think that Colts team, how it was constructed, the way it was going into that year, they were my Super Bowl pick. They finally had the offensive line in place, which is very fitting for the offensive line they have in place now. Mm-hmm. But you looked at everything they've been really, really good at the draft the last couple of years under Chris Ballard,
Yeah.
not Grigson.
Yeah, we know that.
So I liked what they were doing. I liked Frank Wright as a head coach, an awesome dynamic with Andrew Luck. And then you also had the Texans, Watson, that whole roster. We always were talking about the Texans for many years, how all they needed was a quarterback. They finally got a quarterback. The Titans were like...
It was Mario's make or break year, and Mario still had that intrigue. I know he's obviously fallen off now, but there was still somewhat of a buzz about Mario as like, can he finally do it? Because there's been enough glimpses there that made you think, okay, this could be a year. Proved to be wrong. But.
Yeah. And then also there was a lot of buzz about the Jaguars. Let's not forget, they had signed Nick Foles. A lot of people felt the same way about Jacksonville. Like, yo, this team was just in the AFC title game not too long ago.
They still had their stars defensively.
Still had all their stars outside of Telvin Smith, who had retired prior to last season. And then you're saying to yourself, yo, you add an experienced quarterback and Nick Foles over there. They paid him big money, roughly $20 million a year. So there was a legit case to make that everyone was live in that division. Mm-hmm. And then before you know it, it's a two-team race. I mean, I know the Colts were kind of floating around a little bit.
They beat Kansas City last year.
They did.
Very, very bizarre Sunday night game.
Yeah. And that was with Brissett at quarterback. Right. Remember the Chiefs were like a 13-point favorite? Right. It was a very, very shocking loss. But how are you feeling about this division coming into 2020?
I don't think it's very good quality-wise, but I think it's entertaining just because all four teams have something going on. You look at, Tennessee, they're, I guess, somewhat of the favorites, and they're coming off a really memorable run. Colts, I don't have high expectations for Rivers, but that roster is built very well, and we talked about the coaching staff. I think they're going to be competitive. Houston, we're just waiting to see if they're going to finally collapse. And the Jaguars might be this year's Miami, where they might lose some games like 41-7. So that's why I think all four teams are somewhat interesting in their own way, even though I think quality-wise, this might be the worst division of football. But I think there's enough storylines and moving pieces where it's like, okay, there's actually some entertaining things going on.
I hate to be this guy. Do the Jaguars deserve to have a football team?
Man, that is hard.
Yo, I'm sorry. They're bottom 5 in attendance pretty much year in, year out.
Their owner has ties to the Premier League and professional wrestling.
Yeah. I mean, shouts to the Khan family. I'm loving all the other stuff that they're doing. But
trying to get Fulham back in the Premiership.
Man, I just think of this team. And right now, if you were to tell me, I would put... And I know it's not saying much, but they're, in my eyes, the number one pick in the draft next year.
Yeah, I'd say so. Jets might give them some competition, but I think Jaguars are slightly worse.
So, I don't know. I just think there's some teams some cities that, and this is going to be very telling to see if we have Jaguars Nation on board with VM.
I don't even know what's the tagline for them.
No idea.
Yeah, like SB Nation's one's Big Cat Country, which is kind of a lame name.
Well, isn't it Duval?
Oh, yeah.
It is.
For some reason, I thought once Jalen Ramsey got traded, that was gone.
Yeah.
I feel like Jalen Ramsey is like the face of that, but now...
And it was Saxonville. With that
with really Calais Campbell with the baseball swing.
So, I don't know, man. I just feel like the Jaguars, it's just... There's nothing to be excited about. But they're kind of like
Miami, though. In a way, it's like, okay, are they going to be a team that just totally tanks? Like, how long is Doug Moreau going to be? Who I'm shocked still there. Like, that's why they're kind of fascinating, just because they might... I don't know if they're going to tank, but... You're going to see some games where it's like, you play DFS, so you're going to target the Jaguars. It's not like their defense is that good. You don't know if Ngakoue is going to be back. Other than that, who else they really have? The secondary.
Well, think about it. They've lost a lot of pieces. Campbell. Yeah. They lost Ramsey, both corners.
Yeah. Telvin Smith still out of the picture. Like, all the guys like Miles Jack, Josh Allen, Ngakoue, you don't know if it's coming back.
Josh Allen had a really good fucking year last year, man. Good. It's just that, you play on Jacksonville and there was no buzz around him. I know if you do a tape between him and Nick Bosa, those numbers are very, very similar. But Niners go, would they go 13-3, 14-2, and they're the 1 seed, and then the talk of the league in the NFC side. So, I don't know, man. I think this division, I'm a little higher on the Colts than you are, and I think that's a nice segue into my biggest addition. For me, it has to be Phillip Rivers.
Okay. It's not for me.
All right. But for me, it's Phillip Rivers because I think a lot of shit went bad for the Chargers last year. And it started early when Derwin James was out pretty much the first, 10 games of the year?
Hunter
Henry out too. Melvin Gordon hold out. You could just chalk up to 40% of the offensive line being injured by week 3 because that's always the case.
Okung had like 3 different injuries. Yeah.
So when I look at the roster, we're not that far removed from how we felt about the Colts last year, like I opened with Andrew Luck. And obviously Rivers is nowhere near what Andrew Luck is at that point of his career. But you add a player like Phillip Rivers into that roster, and they do a lot of things that fit his skill set, right? They have a tight end that's reliable in Doyle. I know they lost Ebron to Pittsburgh, but T.Y. Hilton, Paris Campbell, who I'm still high on. They drafted a wide receiver, Pittman, who a lot of people are very, very optimistic about. You get a running back in Jonathan Taylor, right? It was Jonathan Taylor drafted from Wisconsin.
People were kind of iffy on the pick just because second round running back when you have Marlon Mack already, but just based on his tape, he is very exciting.
Yeah, dude, I think he's a very underrated. I don't know. Was he underrated? Is he flying under the radar right now? Jonathan Taylor.
I think a lot of people loved him coming out. So I wouldn't say he's underrated. I just think the fit's kind of weird. Mm-hmm. They're not expecting him to be there.
Yeah, you would have thought maybe they get more of a scat back, a pass-catching running back.
Or keep addressing the defense. Because the defense, I think, is slowly becoming solid, but there's still some moving parts. Mm-hmm. It doesn't blow you away. They have some game changes, but I think they could do a little more, particularly in the secondary.
The thing I like with Rivers is it has to be the best offensive line he's ever played behind.
It's not even close.
Yeah. And that alone is going to get him rejuvenated. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's a false narrative, the right narrative, but feeling rejuvenated when you go into a new situation. And I think Rivers has a lot left in the tank. I think he just needed a change of scenery, and it's indoors. It's a very favorable division compared to what he was in the AFC West. There was no chance they were going to win that division, whether he was there or not. Now, in my opinion, and I know the sports books agree, they're the favorite to win the South.
Or Tennessee.
It's like a $10 difference.
I think I'm higher in Tennessee than most people.
Plus 160. Yeah. So for me, I think it's Phillip Rivers. I'm not ready to sell my stock on him. And also in the event that, it's completely done, he's completely shot, you still got a favorable backup situation.
Yeah, I like Brissett. I like more than most people. It's just I think Brissett at times he takes too many sacks. He has that Tyrod Taylor syndrome where he holds the ball for too long and then he gets sacked and there's potential for more turnovers. But if it comes to addition, I gotta go DeForest Buckner. I love me some DeForest Buckner. I think he's one of the top interior tackles in the league. Period. Whether you want to look at it from a pass rusher standpoint or just the way he plays the run. I think Colts kind of need that centerpiece. Okay, Darius Leonard looks like a top 5 linebacker. He just makes all the plays. But I think someone up front, you put him with Justin Houston's kind of aging at this point. Take what you can get from him. I just think getting that centerpiece, getting someone that could just blow up inside, I think it's a big addition for him. Obviously Rivers, there's value to it. But I'm just very skeptical of Rivers at this point. His arm strength looked shot last year. He was throwing the ball into traffic a lot. It comes up, especially over the middle. I don't know. He just put the ball in harm's way. I know with Frank Reich's offense, I think they're going to go with a more conservative approach. I think it wouldn't surprise me if Indy was more actually of a run-first team this year, given the investment in Taylor and Marlon Mack still productive with that offense line. So that's why I think you might see Rivers pass attempts lower, which would be a good thing. Try to keep his... you want that interception total to be below 20 after what happened with Rivers last year. I don't know. Look, we love Phil Rivers because he's so fearless, but there comes a point when your arm is fading, which is clear. And it's not like outside of T.Y. Hilton, they don't really have many deep threats. So that's why I could still just see the Colts being more of a run-first team. That's why I think a guy like Buckner who could really elevate that defense in a division where, there's still some threats. When you look at Watson and, Tannehill's doing his thing. And I don't know. I've always just been very high on Buckner. I was kind of surprised San Francisco made that move. But then again, you look how stacked they are, especially with Arik Armstead's emergence, re-signing him. So, yeah, I think that was pretty much... Colts were the only team to really do much in this division when it came to addition, so I think it had to come from them, but I'm going Buckner.
No love for one Brandon Cooks?
Man.
The most overrated wide receiver of our generation. Him and Sammy Watkins. Same draft class.
But I'm a Sammy Watkins guy, but that contract is rough.
Yeah. I don't like either of them. Not one bit. Look, Brandon Cooks has been on 4 teams in 5 years, and you can't tell me he didn't have coaching staffs.
Talking about 3 exceptional coaches.
Yeah, geniuses.
Hall of Famers, future potentially, and then you have the young guru himself, Sean McVay.
And the quarterbacks he played with, I know Jared Goff kind of fell off a cliff last year, but dude,
Still.
you're playing in a system that elevates Jared Goff. And let's not forget, man, I still hold that Monday Night Football game that he went toe-to-toe in prime time against Pat Mahomes, and he outdueled him. He's outdueled. He had that monster game against the Vikings. He outdueled Drew Brees in the Superdome. And Brandon Cooks is on, like, you know, I just think he is what he is, man.
The fact that he was viewed as such an expendable player is very concerning.
That's what I'm saying, dude. I think teams tell you a lot about players, but we just don't want to accept it. And no one knows players more than the people that draft them, keep them in house. You see them every day. And like the Saints, man, that's a top organization for them just to be like, yo, first round pick, all right, man, peace. You
Patriots.
know? Patriots also. Rams just like, whatever. Go.
Yeah, he's just a deep threat. That's it. And it's ironic that they take a deep threat when they have arguably, besides Tyreek Hill, the best deep threat in the league, Will Fuller.
Yeah.
It's a weird fit.
It is a very weird fit. I feel like a lot of the receivers that the Texans have right now all do the same thing. And then, I mean, it was minus 6,000 that the biggest subtraction would be DeAndre Hopkins.
Right.
I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I do want to drive this point down. When you have something special like Watson and Hopkins, I talked to my buddy Maldo, who lives in Houston. He's a big Texans fan of the show. Shouts to Maldo, man. He told me one time in response to a tweet that I had, I was like, yo, I felt as if Watson and Hopkins were like homies. And I always say this about fans. If you could be objective with your team, you can bring a lot to the table, right? I don't follow the Texans as much as he does because he's a fan. You know what I'm saying? I don't know the Falcons as well as you do because you cover them, number one, and two, you're a fan. So you know them really well. And I value your opinion when it comes to the Falcons more than anyone else that I know. So going back to that with the Texans, I asked him, I was like, yo, man, am I right? Am I wrong? He's like, dude, you couldn't be more right. It's every commercial Watson would do, he'd be like, yo, I want D-Hop in it. Anything D-Hop would do, he's like, yo, I want Watson in it. There was never any reports about, oh, man, I need the rock more, or, man, you know, he's running the bad routes or whatnot. And Watson was peppering him with targets. He's one of the most targeted wide receivers in the game. And to me, it's him and Julio, 1A, 1B. And I will put Michael Thomas right behind him. Oops. I'm sorry. I know that might be controversial, but
I don't think it's controversial at all.
I just think from a talent level, when you have someone special like D-Hop, you don't just give him away, man. You don't just give him away. And especially, I think the biggest tell as to why this is such a big subtraction is how his teammates responded. Everyone's shocked. Everyone's pissed. No one came out and be like, yo, you know what? D-Hop's a dick. Like, no one, you know,
There's no random sources.
No one pulled a Greg Jennings when he left the Packers. He's like, yo, fuck Aaron Rodgers. It's like, nah, man. Like, yo, everyone loved this dude. And what about durability? There was a graphic in the playoff game against the Chiefs. It's like he's missed like 17 snaps in his career.
Never leaves the field.
Yo, he never leaves the field. And that guy has had to deal with a shitload of trash at quarterback.
No one else has dealt with trash quite like him.
And to just continue to be productive, and you finally get him a quarterback with some fucking grapefruits, and to just give him up, man, I think that's huge. You talked about it too, about how special quarterback wide receiver dynamics are.
Yeah, that's that relationship. Like Watson was on the Ringer show a few weeks ago, and he talked about how he still has a close relationship with Hopkins, and they're looking to do stuff in the community. I think there'll always be a special connection with Hopkins in Houston. It's easily the biggest attraction. There's no disputing that. I just wonder how Houston's offense operates now. I feel like there's going to be a lot of times now where Watson's just going to have to make like these out of structure plays where he's just going to be running back there and just making plays with, you know, out of the pocket, just flinging it up there, where it be Fuller, Cooks, Cobb, Kenny Stills. Shout out to Kenny Stills, by the way. Find a good fight.
Yeah.
We got to give him some love. I don't know if he's going to be on a team because I think if any those receivers get traded, it'll probably be him just because he's kind of like the odd man out. Because Fuller is still value. They put a lot of stock into him.
They do, yeah.
Cooks, they just trade for, and Cobb, that contract. So I think Stills, if there was 1 to 4 receivers out of them that would get traded, probably be Stills. So, but it's just a weird offense where it's just like, all right, you can't. None of these guys make contested catches. You know, all right, they do create separation, but you know, there's still question marks about the offensive line. I know Tunsil, he's very good. He got rightfully paid, but just Houston the fact that you just get rid of someone like Hopkins who could literally make all the plays. Like, I don't think there's a better contested catch receiver than Hopkins. Like, he doesn't have to create separation. This guy knows how to win the ball at the catch point, and he is physically imposing. He will bully corners. I don't think I've ever seen a receiver go at Jalen Ramsey like did. I know Julio got the better of Ramsey at times, but that was more just off route running and speed. Hopkins, I'm talking about, will physically go at it with him at the line of scrimmage. So just letting a receiver of that caliber go, especially considering, you're trying to compete with the likes of Kansas City and Baltimore, it makes zero sense to me. So, yeah, it's easily the biggest attraction. I don't know how you replace him.
Let me ask you this one. Let's follow up with that. Where would you rank Hopkins leaving Houston as far as biggest subtraction league-wide?
This year or like
no, this year. Like this offseason.
Ooh. I think it has to be is it number one?
I would say it's number one. I think the only one you could maybe debate
come off the top of my head
would be Brady. But I think that's more the aura and the legacy. Like Brady, look, the Brady era in Tampa Bay is going to go one of two ways. He's going to be a 43-year-old quarterback, or what's happened the last couple of years in New England, granted, they won a Super Bowl 2 years ago, but the big decline in his numbers, he could be like, yo, I got Godwin, I got Evans, I got the tight ends. I needed some weapons, bro. So that's how I think that's going to go. And I think it has to be D-Hop as the biggest subtraction.
Because we've talked about a couple guys retiring, who might have Travis Frederick. We mentioned Brady, obviously. Maybe like Corey Littleton here and there. Like, I'm trying to think of players that left that we already talked about in prior shows. Yeah, no one really comes to mind.
No one left that was I wouldn't say unanimous, but yeah, you know what? Unanimous top 3 player at his position.
Perfect. That's couldn't said better.
So it's huge, man. I would put it number 1.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So I don't know how they replace him. It's just, I think it's gonna be Watson just freelancing and we'll see how, like, we know Watson's special, but let's see what he could truly make out of this. Like, is he going to go Russell Wilson where it's just like, okay, forget the supporting cast. I'm going to make all the throws. I'm just going to put this team on my back. Like, let's see now with Watson, because that's why I think of Russell Wilson. I know he has some good receivers, but I think there's a lot of times where Russell Wilson just puts the team on his back and goes there. Now, without a true security blanket in Hopkins, I want to see what Watson could do. It's unfortunate the pressure's on him like this, but that's what the organization did to him.
Nice little segue into this for me. When it comes to storyline, I think it is Deshaun Watson and what's going to happen this year with him. Okay. There's a guy who is due for an extension after this season. He's actually eligible for one now, but they're not going to pay him yet. I think you take a look at the landscape of the quarterback position with what Patrick Mahomes did. Man, I think Watson is not getting the recognition I think he's deserving of, because man, I think he's an elite talent. I think what he brings to the table, I love the comparison of him and Russell Wilson, where they make chicken salad out of chicken shit, as they say. Granted, look, having D-Hop, that's a better weapon than anything Russell Wilson has had. But if this guy could will them into the playoffs, you see, there's 2 guys whose odds from a betting perspective I really like to win MVP. One is Kyler Murray, one is Deshaun Watson. Now, ultimately, it's going to come down to who do I think has a better chance of making the playoffs. The roadmap for the Texans is easier, right? The division's a little weaker. Mm-hmm. The conference is a lot weaker. Where, the Cardinals got to get through that division at least. And that's 2 gunfights, 2 bar fights, I should say, twice a year against Seattle and the Niners. And I think with Watson, you know he's going to want to show out so he can get his money. You know he's going to have a chip on his shoulder. Is he like angry also? Like, yo, you give up Hopkins, bro, like we were just talking about. So I think what happens with Watson and the Texans is huge because, yo, if shit hits the fan and they go like 4-12 and he has a bad year,
or if he gets seriously injured,
or if he gets hurt,
they might be the worst team in the league if he goes down.
Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt.
AJ McCarron's coming in.
I think I wouldn't be surprised if he's on a new team. If it gets like really bad, right? Yeah. And you know of all the issues that they've had in the front office, the shit with the owner also, O'Brien just being a legend, and Watson vouched for him. right? He kept his job because Watson was like, yo, I love this dynamic. And then you strip him of his main weapon, and then he gets hurt because the offensive line is still not up to par. I wouldn't be surprised. I made a bold take about halfway through the year last year that he's going to be the quarterback for the Patriots in 2 years.
The thing is, you have to take into account who's going to be calling the shots, because if O'Brien falters, you got to assume they get rid of him. So it depends what the new coach comes in. How will they assess Watson? That's why I'm not sure if you would bolt, because you have somebody new coming in. Who knows how they're gonna evaluate the personnel? Because it'll be interesting. Like, will O'Brien lose general manager duties or lose general manager and head coaching duties? Because I don't know, this blind faith in him. It's just every year I don't know how it's still there. You watch that 4:30 January game. Wild card weekend, and you're just like, why is he still here?
Do you think he gets fired if they lost that game, the wild card game? Because they were about to lose that game if it wasn't for that Watson miracle play, and also Buffalo kind of.
I don't think they do.
No.
He's just holding on.
Yeah.
Teams are scared to fire their coaches. I think we've seen that across the league.
Wow. That's why, like, when people are clamoring for certain people to go get jobs, like, why didn't this, like, Bieniemy, right, in Kansas City? Like, how come he didn't become a head coach? Maybe he likes being the coordinator for Pat Mahomes, and his stock is only going to elevate.
I think he won that. I say Cleveland. He could have fit there.
Totally. I'm with you.
Carolina.
He's well deserving of being a head coach. That's not what I'm saying. But, bro, how many coaches get fired every year? 5, 6, roughly?
Right.
So maybe he's like, yo, let me just wait. I'm not going to disappear because we're going to win 11 games minimum unless Pat gets hurt. And my stock's only going to continue to skyrocket because I got the GOAT right now slinging for me. I can have any job I want next year.
It's just when's the opportunity going to come?
Well, I think the opportunity is always going to be there because of what I said.
Just what organization, though? Like, that's the thing. Like, which
Atlanta.
Atlanta's definitely up there. You have to take them into account. Houston. Like, I think I'm still wondering, like, why in Dallas try to look into.
Hold on, what about this one? The Jets.
Yeah, I don't know who wants to take that job, but
you got Darnold there. If you think you could,
with him and Douglas, maybe.
Yeah, dude. I think that's a nice pairing.
That's a 2-3 year job, though.
Yeah, and you heard the reports about how Allen Robinson hasn't been in contact with the Bears, and Joe Caporoso, he's a VP of Whistle Sports. I've had him on the show before. He was saying how that's his dark horse trade candidate, Allen Robinson, going to the Jets. I think that could be something really interesting too.
Damn, that'd be really good.
Yeah, young guy, fired up, big, like a wide receiver who's productive.
Yeah.
Yo, he's the best wide receiver I think no one talks about because he's had Blake Bortles and Trash Biscuit.
He doesn't get enough love. Yeah.
What's your biggest storyline?
I gotta stick with the Texans. I just think, is this the year they fall apart? Is this the year where they go? I know when Watson went down, they obviously didn't make the playoffs, but for most part over the past 5-6 years they've made the playoffs. Will this be the year where it's like, okay, they go 5-11, 6-10? Because you gotta take into account their defense is not good. Like, it was bad last year. They were just clinging on to strings. J.J. Watt coming back, clearly not 100%. I know they're getting Merciless back, but besides that, like, there's not much to get excited about their defense. So I'm just wondering, is this the year where, if everything stays healthy, are they just clearly not good enough? Where they go 6-10, maybe 7-9, and it's just like, okay, it's clear that Houston can't beat Tennessee or Indianapolis. Like, they are clearly second or third best team compared to other years where it's like, oh no, they've somehow managed to win the NFC South. Is this the year where it's like, no, they cannot somehow win 9-10 games and win a division? No, they're gonna go 6-10 and things are gonna blow up. So I just think trying to see how they manage after such a tumultuous offseason, because they were the punchline. Every time they made a move. It wasn't just the Hopkins. Like, that Randall Cobb siding. Why? How does it make any sense?
David Johnson?
Yeah, like, who looks like damaged goods. Like, why?
And what about this? They've traded 3 times for running backs in the past 18 months.
Yeah.
Carlos Hyde.
We love Duke Johnson, but
Lamar Miller also, Duke Johnson.
And you just look at, like, this secondary. You got Gary Conley, Vern Hargraves. They're just washouts.
Yeah, guys that fizzled out as first-round picks with their former teams.
So it's just, there's not a lot to be excited about there. So I'm just wondering if either Watson somehow carries them to 9 wins, or is this the year they finally fall apart?
Let's wrap it up with the biggest X factor in the division. You know what? You go first, man. I feel like I've been opening them all up.
For me, it has to be how Tennessee manages Derrick Henry's workload, who is now fully there, got his long-term deal. I'm just wondering how they, through a 16-game process, like how are they going to work around it? Like, will he get maybe more 18 to 20 carries rather than, say, 24 or 26?
30s, bro. He was getting
well, in the playoffs, I know that's like a
yeah.
2-game. Like, they're just going. Right. I just wonder how they managed to keep him fresh, make sure he doesn't exceed, say, 300, because we've seen running backs how they fade after 300, whether it be Larry Johnson or DeMarco Murray or even Michael Turner to some extent. Like, running backs to go over 300 carries, they tend to crash pretty bad.
Well, I also think like Murray surpassed 400 touches too.
Yeah, Henry's not much of a receiving threat.
Yeah, that's true. Man, that's a guy who, when he's going to be on the decline, it's going to happen fast. It's going to go from like, top 5 fantasy draft pick to like undraftable and quick, I think.
It's going to bum me out. I love watching him play that.
Well, let's go back to him in college, bro. Bama was running him to the dirt. And then he comes in with Tennessee in the last couple of years. The last 2 years, I think you could say. He's just been getting fed and fed and fed. And look, it's working for them, right? They went on that run last year, and what they were doing was perfect for what they needed to do. And I just think a guy like Henry, I've seen it before. I've seen that big bruising running back just eventually it's just going to like, when his stock like hits its ceiling, as far as like, your body's going to break down, dude. When you're that big and your whole game is inflicting punishment on the defense.
He loves contact.
But Edge, the wrestler, used to say like you only have so many holes on your bump card, right? Like a wrestler takes bumps. It's like, well, eventually it's gonna catch up to you, and it's gonna catch up quickly before you know it. How many more 30+ carry games or touch games does Derrick Henry have in him?
That's why I think it's such an X factor, because like, okay, Tannehill had a redemption year. He looked more comfortable, but, can they lean on him? Will there be games where Tannehill has to throw 40, 45 times, and will they win? He did it somewhat last year, but is this now going to be the year where they could go a little bit more balanced? Because it was clear, like, at times Mike Vrabel was worried to put the game in Tannehill's hands. So when they play those top teams, because Tennessee, I assume, has a harder schedule, how they're going to manage it? Because, look, say 16 games, they need him. He's the centerpiece of offense. They can't afford to have him lose any time, especially given that Deion Lewis is now gone. I don't know who's their backup, but I think given that he's such a difference maker, trying to keep him within 250, 275, that's gonna be the biggest thing for me in the AFC South. Because I think when you look at just talent wise in the division, outside of maybe Watson, in terms of actual ability, maybe he's the best player in the division. Because you look at the Colts roster, look at the Jaguars roster, like just on what they've achieved. Like what Derrick Henry did is just absurd last year.
Who'd you say was the best player in the?
Watson.
Yeah.
Like I love Watt, but Watt's kind of faded a little bit. Other than that, like I can't say anyone really on Houston. I can't say anyone really on Jacksonville.
Hey, how about this? Are you finally going to defer to T.J. Watt being the better Watt or what?
Yeah, but he's great though. That's the thing.
yes.
Like he's exceptionally good.
I told you this week 3 last year.
All right, I didn't think he was become like a 14 sack guy. Picking. He had a couple of interceptions. He's defensive player of the year contender last year.
Absolutely.
So I'll definitely defer
Absolutely. Man, I agree with you. Now that I think about it, it's Watson and then it's Derrick Henry. Mm-hmm. My X factor, staying with the Titans. A.J. Brown.
Man, what a difference maker he was.
It started with your team. He lit up the Falcons that game.
Doesn't say much, but yeah.
I know, but I remember he fucking destroyed the DFS slate that weekend. He just went, but he had like 150 yards in the first half and 2 touchdowns. I'm like, all right.
With Mariota.
There goes the Millie maker. But A.J. Brown, I saw the statistic from PFF. Shouts to Taryn, man. Stat guy Taryn. Stat guy Spicy. Led the NFL in receiving yards after play action.
Oh, I thought it was going to be yards after contact because I remember him breaking a ton of tackles last year.
Well, he was eighth or ninth in that category. Okay. I can't find it in my notes now. But, yeah, he was also a big yak guy. Mm-hmm. But combining the two things that we just spoke about, you're saying Derrick Henry's workload and how they manage him. a big part of A.J. Brown's success off play action was because people are putting 8 people in the box against Derrick Henry. And Tannehill got paid this offseason, and a lot of that was because of A.J. Brown's success. He's become the clear-cut go-to guy in receiving. Corey Davis is now, So I think if he could take the next step, because there's something about receivers, and I don't know if we've seen it much as of late. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but there was that way back in the day, the sophomore slump with wide receivers. And you take a look at that rookie class of wide receivers last year. It was a pretty productive class. It's not 2014.
There's still a lot of talent.
There's a lot of good talent there, and
somehow the Patriots missed. It looks like right now. I want to totally write off N'Keal Harry, but you look at some of the talent between Slade, McLaurin.
That's right. You better fucking mention Slade.
I just mentioned him. McLaurin. I'm probably missing a bunch of guys right now. Oh, DK Metcalf, Deebo Samuel. They've had that draft class has so much talent. I don't know how many of them are going to transition to being guys like Mike Evans and Odell and Devontae Adams. Like, I don't know if they're going to be top 5 guys, but you look at this receiving class, a lot of them are going to be productive for a long time.
Shouts to David Gettleman, 5th round gem.
He made it happen.
But A.J. Brown, I'm expecting big things from him. I think the connection with him and Tannehill was he didn't have it with Mariota, despite that one game that really jump-started his season. With Tannehill, it was just and I think he had about like 35% of the target market share. Which, when Tannehill's throwing 22 times a game, that's a lot, man. Right. You're talking about every 3 throws, it's going to him.
There was like a 5-week stretch where he had a touchdown of 40 yards or more every week.
Yeah, he was just going off.
Like, I remember the Saints game. I know they lost, but he was torching the Saints. Yeah. I think he played a big reason why they're not team to beat Kansas City, and that was when Mahomes was healthy.
That's right. That was also Mahomes' first game back, I believe. Or second.
Yes, it was. I remember he just came back. Yeah, because he got hurt in early November.
But still, that was a game where Tannehill dove into the end zone, scored the game-winning touchdown. So yeah, I think this division's one of the more intriguing ones.
Right. I don't think it's very good, but I think it's fun.
Yeah. I think it could be like a 9-7.
That's always
winner.
The case.
Yeah, that's true.
But I do think they could have 2 playoff teams with Tennessee and Indianapolis. And we'll see what Houston.
Oh no. No, the landscape of the AFC, I think, is a lot. I think the West puts out 2 teams. I think
there's extra playoff spot, but yeah, I get
you know what?
Yeah,
I take that back. You're right.
But I do get like the North and West do have some very good teams there.
There's a case to be made that the North and West could put in.
It wouldn't be surprising. That's probably the favorite, but look,
5 teams from those 2 divisions.
Yeah.
I'm a lot higher on the Steelers. We'll get to them in a couple of episodes, but yeah, I like it. Alan, where can they find you if they want to contact you?
Alan_Stirk. That's ALLEN_STRK.
Dude, we had to reschedule this week because you also do another show. Promote the other show, man.
Locked On Falcons. Right now, we're doing our shootout. We're at the finals. I just lost in semifinals. Lost in extra time. We had like this. It was 3-3. So what we do is over Zoom. Zoom has like a chat thing. Mm-hmm. So it was like a question from the 2012 season. It was like, besides Michael Turner's 60-yard catch. I know, craziest thing ever. It was just a broken play. Somehow, 60-yard screen went for a touchdown. Besides that, like, who had the biggest reception against the Panthers in Week 4? And me and my buddy Adnan shot to him. We both typed in Roddy White, which was the correct answer. His came in literally like 1 second before me, and he went through. Just because his laptop, shot to Mac, beat mine, HP.
Yo, come on, man. You got to get on the map. What is fucking 2008 shit you got going on?
2008, ouch. But yeah, we're doing that right now. We just interviewed Kevin Forney, who was the right guard for 6 seasons. He was actually he played the whole time when Vic was there, so it was cool getting his experience. He was talking about some of the wild things he saw with Vic, especially that touchdown run against Minnesota where he made 2 defenders collide. So yeah, it's been really fun getting back to that. It's just right now, we're just with everybody, we're just waiting to see if there's a season, because I don't know, training camp's coming. And then preseason, there's only 2 games this year. We don't know what the landscape's going to be. But
did you happen to watch the Victor Cruz, Cam Newton, Gurley?
I've seen clips. I got to watch the whole thing, though.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Cam, I leave that with Cam super impressed, bro. Mm-hmm. Cam, like, his whole demeanor. If you guys haven't checked that out, shouts to Victor Cruz. I think Victor Cruz is one of the post-playing career guys that's doing really
He's emerging,
well.
Yeah.
He's becoming a very big voice in sports media.
Cam's outfit, man.
Todd Gurley in that goes, man, they asked him about Matty
I heard
Ice.
about this.
And he goes, man, I'm chilling, yo. The big head honcho is Julio. He's like, worst comes to worst, I got Julio. I'm chilling. I was like, bro, that is the epitome of me. When I put in my DFS lineups, I'm just like, I got Julio.
I saw Cam looking back at him. He's like, damn, man. Like, Cam was just looking. Like, yeah, I know what you mean. I've seen him twice a year all those years. But, yeah, I got to check that out. It's cool that they put that together. Yeah. I think those are four very popular players. And I think it's cool you look at Odell and Cam, two, I think, the most misunderstood players in the league. So for them to get an hour-long platform is great.
Bro, Todd Gurley is 25 years old.
Yeah.
Is he not the oldest 25-year-old athlete you've ever met?
Man. I don't know.
There's a part in that. And, yo, guys, this was a fantastic thing. If you haven't checked it out, it's called The Bigger Picture. Yeah. Go to Victor Cruz's Instagram and check it out. Yo, he goes, I like seeing these young guys blossom. It's like, bro, you're a young guy.
He was in the 2015 draft class.
Like, yeah, but you're 25, though. Yeah. Like, I can understand that if Frank Gore says it.
Frank Gore. Ancient Frank Gore. I was thinking, like,
Like, even Le'Veon Bell, I would say.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe, yes, I'm trying to think of a running back. I feel like all the running backs are kind of young when you think about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think Le'Veon Bell's a good one.
Marshawn Lynch.
Oh, that's an old time.
But yeah, man, at the Layer Show is where you can find me. At Veterans Minimum is where you can find the show. Go to iTunes, leave us a 5-star Frog Splash review, and we will catch you guys next time on the episode.